Hello guys, and welcome to my 8.1 overview of the Rogue. My name is Squiggle, and today I wanted to show you guys how to do the maximum damage in 8.1 despite all of the changes that have happened to our beloved classes. Now first off, I want to apologize for the lack of content I've been doing over the last month, including the lack of streaming that I've been doing. After moving into a new house, I simply do not have the good enough internet to stream. However, I will try my best to get good internet as soon as possible. If you guys are familiar with Australia, we are not renowned for having the best internet in the world. However, all excuses aside, I do plan on doing a lot of content for 8.1, namely for the Rogue and Warrior and a lot of other classes that I enjoy playing. In this video, I'm going to be covering important changes to the Rogue, such as what's happened to our Azerite traits, what has happened to sub, and what we can expect in Uldir in the next couple of raids to come. So without further ado, here is my guide and enjoy. Now first and foremost, and the thing that is going to be on most people's minds, is the thing that has happened to the sub rogue come 8.1. Now what has happened is that Shuriken combo has been completely removed from the game. Now if you guys were not familiar with what Shuriken combo did, every time you hit an extra target with your Shuriken Storm, it would give you another 8% damage on your next Eviscerate. So what this meant was that AoE, we could pretty much guarantee that this was going to get maximum stacks and make our Eviscerate do insane damage to one priority target. Now as you guys know, most guilds use this as cheese for Zul. A lot of the world first kills had between 5 to 7 rogues, including myself, which was around like I think a 40 world kill or something like that. And what we can see is that Shuriken Storm damage has been increased by 35%. Now this is really going to hurt the sub rogue, especially on fights like Zul and Mythic Plus scenarios. Now I really do think that this is detrimental to Mythic Plus, because there are so many strategies in Mythic Plus which do rely on the subtlety rogue. You saw in the MDI, most people were running between 1 and 2 sub rogues for a lot of dungeons, such as Tol Dagor, Shrine of the Storm, and Waycrest Manor were quite reliant on using this sub rogue. So these strategies have to be changed, and they're probably going to be running the Assassination Rogue or the Outlaw Rogue instead. So now that we have taken a minute silence to commemorate our lost brother, the Shuriken combo, we are now going to talk about the exciting Azerite changes that have come in for all of the rogue specs. Now first up, we have the Blade in the Shadows. Now this actually did come in huge in this expansion. This was expected to make sub completely broken. However, they have nerfed this trait roughly 3 or 4 times over the whole expansion, and this next thing that they have changed as well is going to probably be a nerf. Now the reason for this is 2 energy as a non-stacking bonus just isn't enough to make this trait viable. If this made it maybe 1 and then it's stacked, so you would get a total of 10 energy off each Shadow Strike, then it would probably make the class quite APM heavy and quite rewarding to play. However, the damage bonus reduction reduced by 40% is, in my opinion, too much for the slight buff that it has gained. So overall, not too much of a fan of this, especially because it gains no extra damage when you come to the 2 or 3 target situations. Next up, we have Ecwing Blades. Now this increases the damage of our Fan of Knives by a certain amount. Now this was actually very busted on the release of this patch, and I could see Assassination Rogues doing upwards of 50k overall in a dungeon because they completely just busted this trait and it was doing way too much damage. They ended up reducing it by 75%, so it is still quite good in 3+ target situations. However, if you are going for single target build, this is not the one for you. So Mythic Pluses, do look out for this trait. Not sure if it's going to replace our Shrouded Suffocations and our Sense of Blood, but this Echoing Blades trait does look like it has promise. Next up, we have Keep Your Wits About You. Now this is actually a really good replacement for the Shuriken combo. Of course, it does not do as much damage as the Shuriken combo did to a single target. However, this is going to be very potent for the Outlaw Rogue in multi-target situations and even in Zul fight. Now this is quite exciting for the Outlaw Rogue because the whole expansion we have pretty much been reliant on going full single target and then just relying on our Blade Flurry to give us extra damage AoE. So our single target and AoE traits were very similar. However, this is going to give us a replacement for the 2+ target fights that Outlaw has really been looking for, and you can probably see this starting to get very good on fights like Vectus, Zul and Zekvoz. Next up, we're going to have a look at Nothing Personal. This is going to actually buff our Vendetta so it does an extra amount of damage, similar to what we actually saw on our artifact on Now this is actually quite reminiscent of what we saw built into our artifact last expansion if you guys paid attention to it. So this gives us the extra damage over the 20 seconds and grants you an extra 40 energy over 20 seconds. So about 2 energy per second. Now this is actually quite cool. I like how this makes the Assassination Rogue a little bit more APM heavy, and it also increases the energy regen, which makes us slightly less reliant on haste in order to make ourselves have fun with playing the class and pressing a lot of buttons at the same time. I will also add that this does sim quite well for single target. However, for multi-target situations I would not recommend this unless you can find really good ways to use the 2-minute window. Next up we have Perforate, which is going to reduce the cooldown of Shadow Blades by 0.5 seconds when backstabbing an enemy from behind. Now, I like the first part of this trait, however, I feel like it is quite weak source, making it attack the enemy from behind. You guys can see the whole expansion how Dagger in the Back is such a wonderfully simming ability. However, there are just simply situations where you cannot hit an enemy from behind, and that feels really unrewarding as a DPS, especially if your tank is simply just tanking the mob in the wrong spot and you can't get the damage bonus. So overall, in this is going in the right direction. However, I feel like it should happen at all times, not just backstabbing from behind. Next up, we have Replicating Shadows. Each combo point has a 2% chance to cause your Nightblade to deal 5,843 shadow damage and spread to a nearby enemy. Now, what this means is that sub is becoming slightly better on 2 target if you do run a trait like this. Now, 2 target is where the sub rogue really does struggle, because the sub rogue was very good when it came to 3+ target. However, on a fight like Vectus, you would often see the rogues go for Assassination or Outlaw for the priority add damage. Now, last but not least, First Dance. Now this is what I am really excited about. Activating Shadow Dance now grants you combo points and increases your haste for the duration. So what this means is that we get a haste proc, I believe it is about 1k at 370 eye level, and it gives us 2 combo points at the start of our Shadow Dance. Now what this means is we can reapply Nightblade, we can Shadow Dance into a Shadow Strike, and we can instantly eviscerate straight after that. So it makes our Shadow Dance window feel a lot more rewarding and a lot more fast paced, which I do really like. Next up, I'm going to quickly go over the sims for all of these 3 specs. Now, we are going to start off with Assassination, and we can clearly see that Double Dose and Nothing Personal are going to be fantastic for single target. Now, one thing I might add is that some of these actually do have diminishing returns when it comes to multiple Azerite traits and multiple targets. For instance, Nothing Personal and Double Dose are going to become worse when you get to multiple targets. However, a trait like Shrouded Suffocation is only going to get better. And not only this, Nothing Personal is not going to stack up that fantastically because you only get the energy regen from one of these traits. Now, this means that you want to be going triple Double Dose single target, or if you don't have one of these double doses, you go 2 Double Dose and 1 Nothing Personal. However, I would not recommend going more than 1 Nothing Personal at a time. Next up, we want to be looking at what Outlaw is looking like on the single target front. Now, Ace Up the Sleeve with Deeper Stratagem is going to be our best simming trait, and Deadshot is going to be just behind this. Now, the important thing to add when you are running these Between the Eyes builds is that the more traits that you have, the more worth it is to cast your Between the Eyes. So I recommend running at least 2 of these Between the Eyes traits, either 1 plus Deadshot or 1 plus Ace Up the Sleeve, and 2 to 3 Ace Up the Sleeve would be the ideal scenario. Of course, for all of these things, if we are raiding, we want to be making sure that we are running our Laser Matrix or our Archive of the Titans. Now, of course, Archive of the Titans is the thing that we want to go for, simply because Laser Matrix does not gain benefits on multi-target, and it has the tendency to hit the wrong thing and break CCs. Now, last but not least, we're going to have a quick look at sub. Now, First Dance is completely broken at the moment. Anything that can beat out an Archive of the Titans at 5, let alone 10 stacks, is completely busted, so do expect this thing to be nerfed very soon. However, if you want to get some rank 1 logs over the next couple of days, impress your guildies, then feel free to run the First Dance before it does get nerfed. Of course, the best combination for this one is 2 First Dance at the moment, as well as an Archive of the Titans. However, I would recommend, after this gets nerfed, that you run 1 Inevitability, 1 First Dance, and 1 Archive of the Titans. So now we are going to be seeing how these things size up against each other when it comes to the logs. Now, unfortunately, we cannot see much of these logs. A lot of the talents, trinkets, and Azerite section is not working as intended. However, we can already see that the combination of the First Dance and Inevitability is doing very well. Now, these do not stack very well on top of each other. These are generally one-offs to go along with the Archive of the Titans. However, getting 1 of each of these traits is insanely good, especially for single target. Now we are seeing, when it comes to the AoE fights, of course, the Outlaw Rogues are coming into it as well. And if you get some good RNG, you can probably go for a good single target sim as well. Now, of course, Zekvoz, this is going to be a King Outlaw fight, no surprises here. And I'm not entirely sure how this guy can still do so much on a sub rogue, given the fact that Shuriken combo is completely gone from the game. Next up, Vectis is still going to be our King Assassination fight, as expected. Zol, you can, I don't know, the gap is closed a bit, but people are probably still really used to playing the sub rogue for this fight. However, the priority damage is still going to be a lot less than it was before. Next up, we can see that Mithrax is going to be favorable for both the Assassination and the Outlaw Rogue. The Assassination Rogue will tend to do more damage to the boss or to the boss adds. However, the Outlaw Rogue will be really good at killing the Visions of Madness that come up. So if your guild is struggling on these, I do recommend running the Outlaw Rogue for the next couple of weeks. Now, last but not least, we are going to have a look at Gahun. Honestly, losing Shuriken combo is just really bad for this fight on the Subtlety Rogue. The Subtlety Rogue can probably do very good boss damage still. However, when it comes to the 2+ target situations, the Assassination Rogue and the Outlaw Rogue are just gonna outbeat it. So right now you might be asking yourself, well, this is all well and good for Uldir, but what's going to happen in the next raid? Now, I'm going to be working rigorously to try out the Rogue in the next raid and see what is going to be performing the best. However, for the meantime, I recommend you guys just try out some of these new traits and see how you go with them. And of course, when the next tier does come out, I will definitely have updated rogue guides on how to play a lot of these fights, as well as general guides for Mythic Plus and AoE situations. Now that just about wraps up my video, guys, and remember to stay tuned for the new rogue content and other class content coming over the next couple of weeks. Thanks for watching, guys, and enjoy the patch.